Yo, what's up, Germany? This is Akrobatik of the Perceptionist Crew. Right now, check it out. Meet you in North Works. Keep it locked right here for real hip hop days, alright? Peace.
Let me see those B-boy stances. Let me see those B-girl stances.
How many Mr. LIF fans we got no place to be today? That's what I want to know. One time.
Are y'all ready? Are y'all ready? You ready? I've been waiting for a long time.
My skin dries out. I ain't jumping out that window when the wind flies out. Won't be the coward and no pretend hideout. I'm in the trenches, talking brothers up on benches, hoping my gems penetrate stenches, man. I'm right.
Yeah, you already know what it is. It's your boy Garvey G Black, Costa Rica MC, here with another MC, legendary Boston MC. Go by the name of Akrobatik, friend of mine from a long time ago. Welcome to the program, homie. T.Y.S. Tell your story, Miami.
Peace, G.S. I'm so happy to see you, bro. I'm so
Same
happy to see you.
same thing, man.
Absolutely, looking healthy.
And we alive at the age we at and everything.
That's right, man. We here, and it's early in the game still, brother. We here.
It's a lot of things to be spoken of, a lot of things to be done. We just at the pinnacle of whatever we got started. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
How you doing these days, man? How you doing as far as like, you know, how the pandemic thing's treating you?
Well, I would say thanks for asking, brother. I'm doing fantastic. All things considered, I'm blessed. You know what I mean? Very thankful. I know that this time is first of all, you know, no one really that's around has gone through anything like this before. So this is new territory for all of us. But as far as me personally, you know, I can just say that I'm adapting pretty well to it. You know, the opportunity for things to slow down and for me to just spend an extended amount of time in my lab and to be able to work from home is also a blessing. I know not everybody has that. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm one of the fortunate few that has not suffered so much in terms of like losing, you know, pay and all of that stuff. I will say that I did have all my shows for the summer canceled, obviously. Those shows right now. But other than that, man, I mean, I still been able to do my thing and I'm still working and, you know, the family is good. Mama's healthy. You know what I mean? I can't really complain.
Oh, my Dukes are good?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's beautiful, man. I remember she moved back in the day, she moved to the Carolinas, right?
You got a good memory, man. She's down in VA.
Oh, yes. She sold I think she left you the crib in Dorchester and moved to the Carolinas.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Yes.
That's how it went, no doubt.
Let me tell you something. We used to smoke blunts up in the whip and all that other stuff, but my conscience is, I ain't burned too many brain cells. Trust me.
Word up. I feel you on that. You got everything in moderation. Everything in moderation.
Definitely. Exactly. I like that. Everything in moderation. You're saying I think too much of anything in excess is no good for you. Definitely. I'm a firm believer of that.
Well-rounded, man. Trick ponies out here.
You know? So, man, let me just, you know, I'm gonna speak for, I know a lot of stuff about you, but I'm gonna speak for the audience that some don't know and the ones that already do know. So I'm gonna speak in that kind of context. Man, some of the places that you performed at, man, like Alaska, you one of the first brothers that I remember that
Wow, I forgot about that.
You forgot about that? That's just stuck in my head because I never heard, to this day, I don't think I've ever heard of any other brother, any other hip hop artist
had a great
performed
time
in Alaska. I'm almost sure you had, huh?
And I was saying I had a great time out there.
How was that, man, experience at that time when you had that unique booking?
Well, I would say that the first part about that really stands out to me was the flight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Flying over the Pacific Ocean, basically, and then as you're coming down towards Alaska, it's nothing but mountains. It's just like, it's kind of like, whoa, you know, you don't realize that like you can fly for so long and just be over mountains the whole time, like no water, no flat ground, just mountains. You're like, all right,
I'm not feeling that part.
Hopefully this pilot is on his, you know what I'm saying, on his grizzly the right way. But, you know, everything was good. And then when we got there, I mean, you know, it was just the vibe there is nice because it's like almost like a island vibe in a weird way because it's like there's just so much like fresh water and the air is just clean and crisp, you know what I mean? And so the food was great. Like a lot of like humanely raised, you know what I mean, animals and stuff like that. So it just felt like
They believe in that, right? There's a lot of no, it's not farming because it's so cold out there, but it's like they believe in like a lot of natural things.
Yeah, and it's not as cold as you would think. It's like Boston. It's like Boston.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and on a winter day, it could be colder in Boston than it is in Alaska.
Serious?
Now, yeah, there's parts of Alaska that's like deep up in the woods. You know what I'm saying? Where you don't want to get caught up out there. But in the city, it's pretty much the same deal. There's enough carbon emissions to keep us warm enough, pretty much.
Was it a club vibe when you went out there, or just like a venue that had like an open mic type setting?
Oh, you know what? Check this out. Now that we're talking about it, the reason that what stands out to me the most is the flight. This is the crazy thing. The reason why the flight stands out the most is because the show didn't happen. I got out there the night before the show. The promoter picked me and my man Slop Funk Dust, my DJ for the night. We flew out there together. He brought us over to the venue, and I was hyped. My name was on the marquee. You know what I'm saying? It's like really about to jump off. And then that night, which was the night before the show, it had nothing to do with my show. There was an incident. Somebody got murdered right outside of the venue.
You serious?
In Alaska.
They were stugging it out in Alaska?
And so that night on the news, they showing that somebody got shot outside the venue, and my name is on the marquee outside the building. I'm like, damn. And it wasn't even a hip-hop event that night. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that messed everything up. So I ended up, thankfully the promoter was still cool about it. I got my bread, but I had to go without doing the show. Yeah. And that's why I forgot about that show, because the show didn't happen.
Because it really didn't happen. Yeah.
But I flew all the way to Alaska.
That was a crazy experience right there. Sounds like a crazy experience.
And it's like, I can only think of like 2 or 3 shows in my career of over 20 years where there was any kind of incident around. Actually, and like I said, that one wasn't even at my show. So really, just one time, there was an incident where somebody got stabbed in Orlando like 15 years ago. And that's the only time that there's ever been a situation where like somebody got attacked or hurt at one of my shows. I'm very thankful, man. I feel like regardless of the size of my audience, regardless of if I'm some multi-platinum artist or whatever, I just feel like wherever I go, I bring out good people. And the vibe is always right, you know what I mean?
Now,
and that's more important to me, you know.
That's more important. No, because I know the kind of brother you are. I know the kind of person you are. You deliver quality, quality over quantity. You're that kind of brother. Yeah, definitely. And
that's
you
what I'm striving for anyway.
Exactly. Let me tell you, one of the songs from you that I remember that you made out of all of the songs you made. I'll never forget this song. It always resonate with me, and they got a different name for it in the year 2020. They call them trolls. But back then, Akrobatik called them internet MCs.
Yeah. That one. That's funny. Wow, man. It's amazing how much time has gone by. I dropped that song, I think it was like January 1st, 2000. And so like that was a time where, at that time, if you remember, there was like this Y2K thing. Everybody thought that when New Year's Eve,
everything's going to shut down.
Everything was going to shut down.
Yeah.
And so that inspired me to just write about the stuff that I was seeing on the internet. And at the time, social media didn't exist in the same form that it does now. Back then, it was more like message board forums. It was more like Reddit. You know what I'm saying? And like every website would have its own little like Reddit style forum. And so the websites that had hip hop forums, they would all go on there and be battling and stuff. And I just thought it was funny that, these guys who probably don't even have the courage to get on a mic in front of people, is on here writing rhymes and bragging about it and all this other shit. So I just kind of wrote a song poking fun at them because, yeah, I mean, we're in the troll era. I kind of saw that coming, and that was the point of that song. Yeah, you done set it up so that people can just anonymously and from a distance just criticize everything and have something to say and have a false sense of, like, what their level of talent is just based on how many people they can get to look at something that they do.
And that still correlates with today, man. That's still today. You see it all the time with these things that go on online and social media. So another question I want to ask you, right? Do you miss? I asked somebody this the other day, and they didn't really give me a specified answer for this. Do you miss the days of the HMV, the Tower Records, of going into record stores where you could, you pick up the CD cover and you could read. I used to be a person that I always adored the art, the cover work, and I always read the credit. I want to see who was making the beat, who produced what, who wrote what. I was always like into that. You missed that. That was an experience.
Let me tell you, the liner notes of the record has always been, like you said, that's like part of the experience that like maybe some people might not ever get to understand. You have different forms of it now though, because now you can go online to like genius.com and you can see like the lyrics annotated and stuff like that. But there's nothing like getting a brand new Tribe Called Quest record and just reading all the thank yous to see who it is that they know and who they're cool with. Like, we are in a time now where all that information, it just seems like it's just so readily available now. You just go look and see who somebody's following 30 people, and those must be the 30 people that they really think are the greatest. You know what I mean? But back then, it was like there was some mystique to being an artist.
It was.
Like you really had to dig to find out something about them. Now you know everybody who they're dating and what they did last night because you're taking pictures and flexing all the time. But I do appreciate when there was some mystique. And as far as about like the old like Tower Records days and all that stuff, I'll tell you, those places created opportunities that I think people are missing out on these days. Like, for instance, Tower Records in Boston on Mass Ave and Newbury Street.
At the corner, I remember that.
So Gangstarr was dropping a new album, and I was in line with my copy waiting to get it signed. And that was the first time that I ever got to meet Guru and Premier. And when I got up to the table and it was my turn, DJ Premier was like, I told him my name. I was like, Peace Primo, you know what I'm saying? Akrobatik, longtime fan, da-da-da-da-da, whatever it was I said. I was nervous.
Was you rhyming then? Was you already?
Oh yeah. So check it out. After I said that and I told him my name, I was like, Peace Akrobatik. And he was like, Akrobatik from Inhuman Capabilities with Mr. LIF. He was like, yo, Guru, this is Akrobatik from Inhuman Capabilities with Mr. LIF. And they both was like, oh, yo, we heard your shit. You dope, dog. I thought I was going to die right there on the spot. You know what I'm saying? Like, because even though I was an artist, I was still a fan. And there was that still, like, humble aspect of, like, yo, these are the people that I studied. It's not just, oh, I'm watching TV on rap. I mean, I'm watching rap on TV. I could do that. I'm just going to go record something with a free beat off YouTube and put it on SoundCloud, and now people will think I'm hot if I get some looks, some views. But back then, it was, like, really important that you got the approval of the greats.
Oh, yeah.
And that was always the reason that I wanted to be an MC, because I did it for fun, and I thought I was good. And I was like, but, yo, one day KRS is going to tell me that I'm good. One day, Chuck D is going to tell me that I'm good. Big Daddy Kane, all those cats have now told me that I was good. And so that, for me, validates the success that I'm putting into what I'm doing more so than the different ways that this stuff gets judged throughout the ebbs and flows of the industry over time. Because the one thing is that you don't really get measured for what your value was to the game until your career is over and you're done. Maybe after you're dead.
Your demise, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So why even worry about that so much? Just put your heart and soul into it and let the chips fall where they may. And they say real recognize real. Well, that's when you'll see that, when the people that you admire, the people that you studied, the people that you aspire to, when they get the opportunity to see you and they extend that olive branch, like, yo, you're dope, here's a seat at the table, or yeah, I'll hop on your song with you or your album with you, or, like there's been times, cat like Talib Kweli, every time he would do a show in Boston, he see me in the crowd, he'd be like, yo, are you performing tonight? And I'd be like, nah, I'm just here to rock. I mean, to watch. He'd be like,
watch a spectator, yeah.
Yeah, and he'd just be like, nah, when you hear Get 'Em High, I need you up here freestyling every time. You know what I mean? And so, like, that's the type of hip-hop community love, that is so vital. We're not enemies. Everybody has that friendly, competitive nature where you want to let people know you're the best, whatever it may be. But you can do that without being a menace to the industry or making people feel like you're not approachable or they can't work with you. And I would say see Black Thought from the Roots. If you want to see somebody that's just relentless with the bars, and when they're done, you're like, yo, I need to go back to the lab. You know what I mean? But without taking it to a level that doesn't speak truly for who he is. Because you can be grimy and gutter too, and if that's who you are, that's who you are. You know what I'm saying? You know that, and I respect that too. Like I mentioned, Freddie Fox. Freddie Fox is coming with that grisliness, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he can vouch for himself on that, and many people can vouch for him too.
Mm.
So then it's like, it's not funny style. Funny style is when you're watching these people on TV and you're just like, oh, I can be like that, and you're trying to act it out. You know what I mean? Usually those people don't have much longevity in the game.
Yeah. They don't have a self-identity, nothing like that. Yeah.
Right.
Definitely. Damn, man. And around what point in time did you actually meet up with Mr. LIF? How did that happen?
Oh, me and LIF go back to when we were kids, man. I mean, we were both getting started around the same time, and we were both recording our demos at this spot called Backpack Studios that was run by Papa D from Brick Records. Brick Records is still going on to this day. Putting
word.
Shit.
Okay.
Yeah, they're about to drop a new album from Rex, who, you know.
I know Rex. I met him before. Yeah.
Yeah, and for those not familiar, man, he's one of the nicest ever to come out of the New England area. So y'all should support him, man. This dude, as he
underrated, man.
He gets underrated, and he gets better as he gets older. You know, that's another thing that I think that maybe some people in hip hop forget, is that as we evolve and as we grow and our experiences compile, we actually have more to offer artistically and with our narratives, because we've seen so much. So, you know, I think that that's something that people should maybe take into account. And hip hop kind of allows that, because, you know, like if you go see Wu-Tang, right? These are all cats that are OGs, right?
Yep.
But because of the subject matter of hip hop, you could be any age and go rock out with them and get something out of it. You know what I mean? It's not like you're 20 and you're going to see a 50-year-old sing a bunch of love songs. I can see where that might be awkward. But if you're 20 and you go to a Wu-Tang concert, you're going to be jumping up and down, singing all the words. You're
going to get lyrics, energy, everything. Knowledge yourself at the same time.
Right. So as artists, we should be able to just go until our bodies tell us we can't do it no more. And I think that we can just appreciate each other for who we are, because everybody has different stages of their career as they progress. I mean, imagine if Biggie was still around. Who would be like, oh, Biggie, you're too old to be doing this, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop would be completely different, because a lot of cats would have had to keep their styles in check a little bit more. It wouldn't have been so easy to just blow up and be a Big Willie like that, because of the stage where the bar was. You know what I mean? So over time, the bar lowered a little bit because there wasn't as many people in the movement that was out there.
I think it started with the whole Soulja Boy thing around that time, because that's when a lot of these young artists started to like make dances. When he made dance moves, then their fame lived up to their dance moves and not much their lyrics. You know what I mean? So then he started a whole thing.
So I don't know if I would attribute it to him as far as him starting. I would say that he was one of the first people that really benefited from the way the business model of hip hop changed, because around that time when what was that song called? Superman. What was that?
That Superman. I think.
Yeah. So that track that came out during a time, if you remember, where it was like ringtones. They didn't have smartphones yet, so it was like actually worth money. People were spending 99 cents to get a little ringtone of their favorite song, the jingle. So when their phone rang, people made millions and millions of dollars.
Crazy jet off for that.
Yeah, then smartphones came out. And so those little jingly songs weren't as catchy anymore.
You got some artists that just made a ringtone hit and they just disappeared. They just vanished.
Right. It can really happen that way. So, you know, you see people are investing in like a little melody more so than the actual artist and what the artist is talking about and all that stuff. So, you know, that makes it difficult for some people. But again, I would just say that anybody who really wants to dig deep and see what hip hop is really capable of is welcome to do that. And for me, I just always look at it as when I drop music, I'm not looking at, oh, how many records did I sell the first week? How famous is this making me? Is everybody talking about me? I'm just like, yo, this is music that speaks for me now. Maybe somebody who's 20 or 22 might not get it right now. But at some point in their life, they're going to be looking for music that speaks to where they are at that time. And if they don't find my music until then, it's all good. It'll still be there for them, and they can, you know, apply it to them and what they're going through at that time, and hopefully
True.
it'll still be relevant. That's why we have to strive to make timeless music
Mm.
instead of just timely music, because music that's only relevant to a certain trend at a particular time is disposable. But if
It
you
is.
make Al Green made "Let's Stay Together," that's
Mm.
always going to be relevant, because there's
Mm-hmm.
always going to be people saying to each other, "Hey, let's stay together. Let's make this work." So that's where classics come from, because they're songs that have a purpose that transcends through generations.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely songs that resonated with what's going on in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
It's good to have that too. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
necessary. But to think that like just doing that once or twice is going to be enough, and you never have to work again.
Yeah, but not the gimmicks now. Not what's going on in the moment gimmick wise. But I mean, as far as like, let's say like a outcry for justice and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
that kind of stuff.
That's pretty much what I'm on now. My album that I'm working on now is really about a snapshot of what's going on in 2020. And so, so I do understand the point of making timely music when it's called for. I think that these are times that need to be documented. So that's why I'm working on material that, like I said, hopefully when people look back at this time, my music will stand as one of the things that they use to say, okay, this is the perspective coming from hip hop on this.
Thanks a lot for that, man. Thanks a lot for that. You definitely got the skills and always had the skills to go so like I would say mainstream. And why haven't you at the moment, right? When you was in your prime and everything like that, why you went conscious instead of like the club bangers all the time and the booty popping and lyrics and all that? Why that decision?
I would say this: I never surrounded myself with yes men. So if I ever was to do something that was out of alignment with who I always claimed to be and who I always showed myself to be, there would be a lot of people to check me on that immediately. And so my integrity matters to me more than being famous. I never cared about being famous, and a lot of the things that people do is rooted in that desire to be famous for other people to look at them and be jealous of what they're doing or what they have.
Yeah,
I don't get any pleasure from that.
I got more than you. You ain't nothing. Yeah,
I don't get any.
I don't either. I don't either. I don't get it.
I would much rather
I don't get it.
You don't know what I have. You know what I'm saying? I'm just in this booth. What you see is what you get. You know what I'm saying? So that allows me as an artist to have some mystique. I'm not out here flaunting.
I was just about to say that word. Yeah.
Flaunting my relationships and flaunting whatever I might have earned and stuff like that. I'll tell you what I do, and then if you really care enough to gather what that means I make in a month or a year, then you're more than welcome to try to do that. But trust me, it doesn't matter, because the rich man is not the man who has everything. The rich man is the man who doesn't need anything else other than what
has a pure soul that's fulfilled on his own. Yeah,
I have everything I need, and so since I have everything I need, I'm not obsessed with anything beyond that. It's like if something comes, that's great. You get a big gig, you get to do a show at a festival or something, and it pays nice. That's fine. Yeah, that's great. But the point is, I have everything I need, and what I need is my health, my knowledge of self, and my sanity. And so as long as I hold on to those things, I'm going to be effective for my family, effective for my community, effective for UMass Boston, who I work with. You know what I mean? And that's what I want to be, man. I'm just I'm trying to give back as much as I can while still enjoying my days to the fullest. And as far as I'm concerned, there's still a lot of music and a lot of shows and a lot of tours still left in my future. You know what I mean? So, prime is a relative term, because, I might be able to say, oh, I could look back at like 2005, 2006 might have been the time where the most people knew about what I was doing on a regular basis musically. But that was also a time of my life where I was like the least healthy that I've ever been. You know what I'm saying? So like me now, I would whoop me 25-year-old me's ass. You know what I'm saying?
I hear that.
It wouldn't even be close. And I tell you too. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I'm still at a point where I can perform at optimal levels. I could rock for an hour straight on stage without no hype man, and I don't know 10 rappers that can do that.
A lot
You know what I'm
can.
saying? So
They got their whole team from there. I got like 30 dudes on straight stage with them with like
That's
there's
what I'm
5
saying.
mics. Yeah.
And so to me, hip hop is a performance. It's a physical vocal performance. You got to have your cardio. You got to have your respiratory system in full effect. You got to be able to get through a whole sentence without somebody there to back you up and finish your sentence for you. Know when to take your breath so that you don't mess up and your song sounds just as good.
See, but now you're not talking about rappers. You're talking about MCs, and you are MC definitely.
Yeah.
You talking about MCs now. You understand me?
And I understand that there are paths to success that don't require that level of discipline. And I respect anybody who just decides, hey, all that matters is what I'm doing is getting me my bread, and that's that. That's fine.
Yeah, they want to provide for their family.
There's more than one path. You know what I'm saying, to get where you're trying to get, and so that is great. But as far as me, just being conscious, it's just about, I would feel like I was doing a disservice. I go back to that KRS line, you think I'm going to pick up the mic and waste my nation's time. Like, I grew up in the hood in Dorchester. I went to public school for a while, but I also got the opportunity to spend a few years in private school and see the other side of the fence and how they do things. You know, this is a old line, but I say my high school had no black teachers and very few students who had similar features. That's where I got my first glimpse of how they do us, the privilege to learning how to be entrepreneurs while we die in the sewers and the gutters, murking each other's with box cutters. You know what I'm saying? So like, I understood that where I was from was tough. And I understood that where I ended up getting to go helped propel me to be around people that could help me take my career even further. And so since I was blessed with those opportunities, it's the very least I could do to be somewhere like a UMass Boston and to be someone that people can reach out to, younger artists, to talk to about how they might be able to put themselves in a similar position, even if they don't get the opportunity to go to a nice private school for a few years like I did, because there is a path to it, but it requires having an open mind. It definitely does, and it requires thinking outside of the box.
That's new info for me. I had no idea you went to private. I went to private school too in Brooklyn, New York. Went to private school. I went to Catholic and private and public.
Me too, brother. Same
Catholic
thing.
too.
So I went to public school till 6th grade. 7th grade, I went to a prep school called Roxbury Latin. One of the greatest experiences.
My sister went there.
Okay, I went there for 4 years, and then for the last 2, I went to Catholic school, and that was probably the worst 2 years of my life.
Yeah. Catholic school wasn't it for me when I was a kid.
I learned a lot there, though. I learned a lot of tough lessons about how people perceive you based on where you're from. But it's like I got the best of all of it, because it's like public school was like the griminess. It was the hood. It was all people of color. And then I went to private school where it was like 10% black students because they had quotas to fill. Then at Catholic school, it was a little more, but like the white kids in Catholic school were different than the white kids in private school. The white kids in Catholic school were like the city kids. And for whatever reason, their prejudices stood out way more. The private school kids seemed to be a little more compassionate and understanding and wanting to, not completely, but more so than in West Roxbury at Catholic school.
What zone was that? That was, you said West Roxbury? So like that's around Dedham or something?
Both of those schools were in West Roxbury, yeah, right?
Is that around the Dedham area? So what's crazy back then, right? That's when y'all had the bussings and all other stuff going on, right?
Well, this was a little bit after that. I'm not.
Oh, it was after? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. This was after. It was a pretty peaceful time, I have to say, as far as like going to school and things like that. There was a lot of gang activity in the hood for sure. So like, I'm coming home from football practice at 7:00 p.m. getting bussed back from West Roxbury, and then when I get off the bus, I'm walking to the house, and that's where I'm hearing everything, going down.
Yeah.
So I never was really completely removed from that environment until I was like 25, 26 years old when I finally moved out of Dorchester.
Man, I feel you on that, man. So you never went through no hardcore racist stuff while you was going to those schools, right? Being the only, like the less
hardcore. No, you get the occasional ignorant comments. You know what I'm saying? Just people trying to be funny and saying stuff. I remember going on a field trip to the Franklin Park Zoo and being on a bus with all the students, and it was like the first time most of them had ever seen the hood at all.
Yeah.
The zoo's right in the hood.
Yeah,
And so
Franklin Park. Yeah.
yeah, so you know, some of them had something to say about some of the people because they'd never really seen a community that was downtrodden and disenfranchised before.
Mm.
These kids are from Wellesley and Needham
Oh
and all
yeah,
these nice places north
Wellesley
of
Hills and those
right.
nice areas,
Yeah.
affluent areas. Yeah.
So actually being around people that are seeing this for the first time and seeing their reaction to it, as you see, I'm still talking about it now. That resonated in a certain way with me because I'm like, yo, as bad as it seemed at the time and as cruel as it may have seemed, you know, that a lot of that comes from the fact that their parents probably just never took the time to explain to them what's going on around them and what's going on outside of the white picket fence. You know, because the
It
whole
felt
point
like
is to keep
they
them
never
away
had the
from
need
that.
to because
And that's
you know.
right.
Yeah.
And you watch what's happening in politics now. Like the whole Republican platform is,
Uh,
listen, white people in the suburbs, these Democrats want to make these black people your neighbors. If you stick with us, we'll make sure that we don't put any low income housing in your neighborhood, and you can continue to live your American dream.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, you know, that's disgraceful,
Uh,
obviously, but you just see that that's still the mentality of a lot of people, which is, you know, their privilege is not to be encroached upon. And just to see that somebody who doesn't look like you being near you is some kind of an encroachment is really, really entitled and gross. And like, I don't understand how people don't get it.
you know, it's funny. At the time, like couple, you know, like I can't. I moved. I lived in so many damn places. I can't. Places I can't.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say the exact year, but the time when Mayor Menino was mayor and of Boston, and
Yeah.
you know you got people that live in the Grove Hall and all these areas and some low income subsidized housing, whatever. And they used to get the, I guess legally, they got to send out newsletters inviting you to a town hall meeting, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And many people, many parents, many adults that benefited from low income housing, they wouldn't show up. They wouldn't attend. They wouldn't go to um, the free community gatherings at the libraries, at the local
Mm-hmm.
libraries, nothing. And that's where everything went down at, where people was there talking about what was going to happen in the future of your own community. So now you got the gentrifying and all this other stuff. I used to tell people in the hood all the time, this is going to happen. They was like, how do you know that? I'm like, because when I go to the library and I'm on the computer, using the computer, I
Mm-hmm.
see, I go to these little get-togethers and I hear what they talk about in these get-togethers, and this is what they're planning on doing.
Right.
And it happened. It happened. It didn't happen like
Yeah.
no one day to the other day
Yo,
overnight situation. This was
New
already.
York, New York is like unrecognizable.
Mm-hmm,
Brooklyn is unrecognizable.
mm-hmm,
I spent a summer in Bed-Stuy around the time like early 2000s when I was putting my first album out, and like I just remember how it felt like I was in the same place where Jay-Z was talking about. You know
mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? You'd walk by the Marcy projects and
Yeah,
it still had that, even though it's fixed up a little bit, it still had that same vibe. Like
that
you knew what you were
grittiness.
in. Yeah, that grittiness was there. And like you
Mm.
go to those same areas now and it's just like,
It's
you know, people
crazy,
got their
right?
lattes and their poodles.
Outdoor patio,
Right.
cafes and everything like that. Yeah,
But it makes you wonder though, where is everyone who was there? Where'd they go?
they moved. I think they moved. I mean, besides the people that's incarcerated, they moved a lot of them to where the suburbs used to be at. That's what
Exactly.
they did.
So
Yeah,
like Westchester,
yeah.
Mount Vernon, White Plains, stuff like
And the
that.
only reason why they did that act because a lot of the young professionals, they can work. They need to be closer to like Manhattan. They need to be able to
Right.
commute somewhere closer. So that's what
Right.
happened. So like y'all can have the suburbs now. Y'all can stay in the sticks, and it's more better for us because y'all not gonna commute back out here unless you got a car or vehicle, and
Right,
then we
and
stay
all
out
the
here.
high
Yeah,
paying jobs are in the city anyway, so why
exactly.
not move the? Then that's what's happened to Boston too. You know,
Uh-huh.
Boston moved in a whole bunch of big companies like Google and General Electric, and
Uh-huh.
everybody moved into Boston.
Uh-huh.
So all the families, you know, all the people working for those companies had to move their families into the city, and so that's why I don't live in Boston anymore. They wanted to like double my rent. You
Five
know what I
thousand a
mean?
month, stuff like that.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
like crazy prices. Like even if you can't afford it, it's like insulting to have to pay somebody that much money per month just for a small space, just to say that you live in the city. You know what I mean? So you just end up having to find something that's more affordable,
Uh-huh.
reasonably priced in another part of the state.
A
But
lot of these young kids though, they that graduate, they live in predominantly like the white ones. They pay that's making 2 grand a week or whatever before taxes or whatever. They're doing the roommate thing, and they're paying for $5,500 a month apartments and stuff like that. But
I
it's
think
more.
you got older people doing that too. I
It's
think you got
convenient.
40
Two
year olds
things.
living with
But you
roommates,
see, it's
especially with
convenient.
COVID.
It's just convenient, and plus you keep certain people out the neighborhood that you know can't afford it. That's all it is.
I agree 100%, man.
That's all it is. It's like they can't afford this. I'm paying for that kind of security to make sure that those kind of people is not around here at all. Not even Section 8 can help you.
Right. It's just
Yo.
good luck. Good luck.
Yo.
You can't be here. Good luck.
Yeah. So I mean, my opinion on that, man, is like I'm not the kind of guy to whine and bicker all the time. We see it happen. We see it happens. We know why it's happening. A lot of brothers and sisters had enough time in the hood to get their stuff together too. You know what I mean? It was too much, and I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it 100. I'm a dude that's really from the hood, so I definitely can say this. We from it too. So it's like you know the dudes that park the Mercedes Benz in front of the projects, and your baby mother is paying $200 a month, and you sleeping by her crib. Probably got 2 other baby mothers too, and you just own that kind of timing right there with a $50,000 car instead of investing in real estate. You know what I mean? So it was too many of that stuff that happened right there.
Yeah.
And
that's what I mean when I talk about thinking outside the box. You know what I mean? Because some people have the idea in terms of like wanting to have this growth, but their mind state doesn't really allow them to think of like growth outside of their geographical area, though. You know what I mean? Like I'm lucky enough, man, that I've been around the world, man, just like you, and so you know I know what life is like in some other places, and there's nothing that makes me feel like, oh, you know, I keep talking about this politics shit because it's always on TV. Yeah. Somebody at the Republican National Convention yesterday was basically like, look, if we lose our freedom here, there's nowhere else you can go, and that's bullshit. That could be further from the truth. That could be further from the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so much going on with that. I'm not going to take us down that rabbit hole. There are other places where things are fine. You know what I mean? There are very few areas anymore where the United States can say we're at the top, other than, you know, you can blow up. That's basically what it is. We have the highest ceiling. You can come to America, and if you're lucky enough and things go your way, you could become Jeff Bezos and make billions and billions of dollars. But what they don't tell you is that 999 times out of 1,000, though, you're probably going to be living check to check, borderline starving, and if you have a couple of kids, you might really be in trouble. Like that's the part they don't tell you.
Not going to own your land. You're gonna own the house, but not the land.
Right. Yep. So it's a crapshoot. It's just a crapshoot. Roll the dice and throw the dice. But like, why gamble when you could be somewhere where you know that healthcare is free? When you have a kid and it's time for them to go to college, that's free. You know what I'm saying? You get sick, you just go to the doctor. It's not even a question. People ain't running around with guns everywhere, because that's another thing in America. We take this Second Amendment thing so crazy, but this is the only country really that has like 15,000 people getting shot to death every year. Meanwhile, you can go to other countries, they don't have the right to carry guns, but no one gets killed. What's so bad about no one getting killed? You know what I mean? Is me having a right to walk around with a gun worth 16,000 of my countrymen getting murdered every year? Or am I going to stick to that because of the fear that's been instilled in me that if I don't have that, then that means they're going to be coming for me and they're going to be at my door and I'm not going to be able to do nothing about it.
It's more volatile United States more volatile, man.
Yeah. So what I would say about that is that I've gotten this far in life without ever needing to pull a strap on nobody. You know what I'm saying? So there's proof that it can be done. I'll just say that. Even if maybe I'm the only person that could manage to be around for this long without having.
No, it can be done. I know a lot of brothers. You know, I mean, unfortunately, I had to do a few things and stuff, even overseas too. You say,
it is what it is.
But you know what I'm saying? But
But in terms of it just being like this mandatory thing, I would just say that needs to be revisited, because I mean, unless you just don't care that people are getting shot in the head every day, but at least, if you're going to accept that in order to have that right, at least acknowledge the fact that this doesn't happen in most places. And that there is nothing wrong with living a life that says, well, at least I know nobody's going to murder me in cold blood because I have an argument with them on the street. There's nothing wrong with going through your life without having to feel that way. And my friends in other countries, they don't have to think about that, even if they're black. You know what I mean? Because every other country that I've been to, they're just like, yo, you're American, that's dope. you're American, that's dope. But in America, you're black, you're a minority, you're a threat. You probably have a gun, you're gonna steal something.
You know, it's funny that we discussing this because there's a lot of brothers out here sometimes that like to say that we're doing this to each other. We're only killing each other, or we're the only ones with hood mentalities, and they don't know in the Hispanic community too. There's the same thing. You got certain countries, you got people that got hood mentalities also, and you got hood rats. You got a little bit of everything in every culture. You just might not know because you don't speak that language, so you can't relate.
I mean, people from hood to hood need to take accountability, and obviously, killing your own people, that's something that obviously needs to stop. All I would say about that, though, is that at some point we have to realize that the black community, the Latino community, all these different communities of color, none of them manufacture guns.
No, not at all.
Don't none of them,
They don't even know the address to Smith & Wesson. They don't know nothing yet.
They don't grow cocaine.
Nah, not at all.
They're not doing whatever you have to do to have heroin. I don't even know the process of some of this shit.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, that stuff is not manufactured by us. Yet somehow it ends up in our neighborhood. If it's not anywhere near us and it's not accessible to us, how is it that there's so much of an abundance of it everywhere where we live? Who's putting it there? Who's smuggling it there? So I think that needs to be addressed, because when you have people who are already being marginalized and disenfranchised, and then you throw a bunch of drugs at them when they're already depressed and desperate, and you deprive them of nutritious food sources, and you put a gun in everybody's hand, what do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, that's genocide right there.
Yeah, it's genocide. What would it be? If you did that in Wellesley, the same thing would happen. And we've seen that because there are, like parts of South Boston were like that. Might still be like that for all I know. You know what I mean? In that area, for those who don't know, is like Irish. You know what I'm saying? There's poor people attack other poor people out of desperation. People make bad decisions because they have addictions. Poor people make bad decisions because there's a liquor store on every block, and there's not access to certain things that other people have access to, and there's not as much to do. So there's a whole lot of drinking and getting fucked up, and that leads to a whole lot of confrontations. And sometimes people lose their lives on nights where otherwise they might have just been out just kicking it, watching the game. I mean, there's so much that we have to deal with. We all pass by each other on the way to the store and shit like that. You don't know what's going on in anybody's day. And yeah, that's the case in the nice neighborhoods too. But the difference is those cats, they have their future stable. You know what I'm saying? They got enough money put away where somebody giving them a funny look isn't going to make them want to reach for a gun, because they haven't had it up to here. They haven't smoked 2 packs of cigarettes.
They got something to look forward to, yeah.
There it is. That's exactly.
Back in the days, a lot of suburban white kids used to come to the hood it was like an adventure. Let's go over there and have fun.
Yeah, there's a little bit of excitement there.
Sometimes they stay over there for a week. Let's say shorty from the suburbs meet a dude from the hood. She probably crashed with him for a month, a week. Once she's fed up, when she's done and she had enough of that, she got a nice little pretty room to go to in the suburbs. It's still there.
That's so true. And
I dated girls all over. I dated girls in the suburbs too, and I seen what they was living like. You know what I mean?
And you see a lot of these dudes, they come out and they have the whole hip-hop uniform, or so they think, you know what I'm saying? They look the part and all that, but at the end of the day, they could clean up, put on a button-up shirt and shave and walk anywhere without no problems. You know what I'm saying? I can't do that. I could put on a business suit right now, and Bill O'Reilly will still tell me I look like a cocaine dealer. You know what I mean? So I can't change my outfit. I can't change my skin.
It's funny you said you can't change your outfit. I'm gonna correlate that with something I mentioned to somebody the other day in Latin America. I got a friend of mine. She's a rapper, and she's strong with the feminist movement, and I understand. I understand. I told her I'm not with the extreme part of feminism where you hate men and just bash men because you got this biasness towards men. But I do believe that yes, Latin America had the machismo thing going on, and still got strong beliefs that women are inferior to men, and I don't stand for that. I believe in empowering our women of all races, whatever. So what I was telling her is that I was like, and then she also empowered the LGBT community and everything. But when I said to her, when she made a post one time stating that this is the same thing like racism and all those other, and I had to chime in real quick and tell her, look, do not relate this to racism because gay people could have stayed in the closet for 10 more years. But every day I go outside, I'm black every day. And I can't hide that. I can't hide that. So don't ever compare that. It's not non-comparable.
Yeah, I think it's probably not productive to compare anything. You know what I'm saying? It's like things are what they are. You know what I mean? So like every marginalized group has their own shit that they have to go through and deal with. I'm sure it's not the most comfortable thing. And you know, every family probably has at least one person who's lived most of their life in the closet because they don't want to be judged by their family and stuff like that. So that's its own, you know, terrible experience to have to go through. And yeah, what's happening with racism is a completely different thing. But as far as like comparing oppression, you see that a lot of times with like black people and Jews too. Yeah. Like you can't compare slavery to the Holocaust. Yo, I just don't think we should be trying to do any of that.
I mean, both was horrible.
Yeah,
both was horrible
all
as hell.
That shit is terrible. Discrimination on any level really is terrible. And so we should just try to squash all of that out. You know what I mean?
We should, man. We should.
Who's in line first?
We should.
You know?
We should. Nobody's movement for equality or whatever you want is greater than the other. I remember it's funny we're talking about that, the Holocaust, of course, right? Because me, a young black kid growing up in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, around that time you had the Crown Rights riots. You had that time you seen Al Sharpton in the hood. He was in my hood all the time and trying to fight for people. Yep. I read this one book one time. I think I got incarcerated for a little while, maybe like 3 months. So I started reading a book called, I was in private school. My bad. I didn't get incarcerated yet. I read a book, The Diary of Anne Frank.
Oh, yeah.
And man, when I read that book, page by page by page, it made me feel so much like I was there with her before the Nazis came and got her and the family.
Yeah.
And then that resonated with me for the rest of my life because I said, if in our school system, take the time for all the immigrant kids of immigrants and all that to learn about one another, we'll grow as in adults and productively learn how to respect one another if we could understand one another, because you know that has a lot to do with arrogance, right? Ignorance. I don't know you. You're alien to me. Anybody could be an alien. You got this thing in hip hop that I hate. I hate when brothers, want to demean the black sister and say, you from the hood, you're not exotic enough. Like this girl from Dominican Republic, you're not exotic enough. What is that? You know what I mean? Anywhere we go, if I'm me as a black man, if I go to Russia, I'm exotic in Russia, which just basically means that there's the majority. It doesn't look like me, so I'm like an aphrodisiac.
Oh yeah,
that's all it is.
Go to Sweden, bro. You might not want to come.
Oh
back.
Yeah, oh yeah. I've been in a few hostels with girls from Sweden, so I know.
No doubt.
I know.
I'm just saying they like brothers.
I know, yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the respect and the love that comes from the rest of the world towards black men, particularly black men from America, black people from America, the respect that they have for us, especially if you're in their country. It's like, yo, not only are you American and you're black, but you knew enough to get up out of that situation for a little while and come out here and explore to see that the rest of the world loves you.
Let me ask you something. Why you think they respect us so much as black? I'm still black American, even though I'm Costa Rican. That's a whole nother conversation. Costa Rica is still part of America anyway. It's Central America. So why do you think they love us so much?
So these folks got to come up listening to like all those artists I was talking about, they love, like you said, they love the golden era shit so much. So like the Tribe Called Quest and the Wu-Tang and the KRS and the Rakim and all that stuff, they came up on that. Even the younger ones, even like if you're 25 now, you still know your hip hop history because the vinyl is everywhere and you see physical aspects of it. So imagine having access to all that stuff without having that daily media representation of us as these violent, uneducated animals. They don't have that view of us. They look at us the way that they look at our best.
Like geniuses.
They look at us like geniuses. Yeah, they see Kendrick,
Prophets.
They see Cole, they see KRS, they see J. Rue, they see guys like that, guys like Mr. LIF, and they're like, yo, that's what I'm talking about. They see Obama, they see John Lewis, and they're like, yeah, that's our vision of what it is. They don't have all day, every day, these images of the only black people that, are going to be worthy of respect are the ones who's on that pimp and hoe shit. Like, with all due respect to everybody who does what they do, how they do it, all I'm saying is that there needs to be a little bit more balance of how we're presented to each other and how we're presented to everybody else so that we get a fair shake. Because one thing black people don't get in America is that benefit of the doubt that we might be a good person on sight. That white people just get, for the most part, Asian people just get, you know what I mean? But black and brown people, we don't get that same benefit of the doubt. The first thing is, oh, might he be about to steal something? Or might she just be some ignorant ghetto chick, like you said? And so that should never be anybody's first, impression. But if you're in Europe, how could that be anybody's first impression of you? You're 5,000 miles away from home. That means you're about something right off the bat. They might have never been 5,000 miles away.
And music brought you there. Your lyrics, what came from your mind, but giving a little bit of nothing and making it to something so big. Yeah, that's what they love about us, man. Yeah. That's what they love. In hip hop, man, everybody want to be a rapper. A lot of these young kids don't realize that you could do so many other things. You could be a publicist, you could be a blogger, you could be whatever. You could contribute to their own culture in so many ways. Not everything is everyone's calling. You know what I mean?
That's so.
What's as far as Boston go? I always used to, me coming from New York, and parents bringing me to Boston. I heard Rex, I heard Akrobatik at OG, the Bulldogs. I heard there was a little bit before your time. I heard Concrete Click, all these other brothers and stuff, man. So I'm like, DJs like DJ Saki from Attapan. That's my homie.
Actually,
you know what I mean?
Concrete Click was one of the crews that made me feel like, yo, I think I can do this.
You serious?
I was at their show when they did an in-store performance at Tower Records, and they had just put out that single "Keep It Street," which was like a huge Boston classic record. And so I just remember seeing KT and Dag Most at Tower Records rocking that joint and being like,
Cambridge,
this is what I want to be doing, man. I knew it for certain. So big up to those dudes.
Big up to KT and Concrete. I used to know the dude KT, definitely. And you got other dudes that came afterwards, like Dre Robinson.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. I grew up with him on the same block.
Yeah.
A lot of other dudes, man. Then you had the whole Wise Guy movement. I always wondered, right? I'm mentioning these names because I always wonder. I'm like, I was always rooting for y'all dudes. Even when I just came fresh from New York, I was like, they so close to NY.
Man. It's a movement. It was a movement,
So, out of town, and whoever here this might get upset, but I know a little bit of everybody anyway. But out of town, the word was that as soon as they hear Boston, they thinking Ray Benzino. They thinking about the drama that came with a lot of run-ins that he had a long time ago and stuff like that. And even though I know a lot about dudes cool people with me, you know what I mean? But his mother lived right right over there in close to what's the name of that street? And his mother Ann that passed away, may she rest in peace. I helped with some grocery bags one time and stuff, and then I didn't know her son was Benzino at the time, and I forgot the name of that street, man. But anyway, close to Common Square, close to your area.
Okay, I was gonna say it might have even been.
It begins with a T. The name of the street. What's the name of that?
I used to see Benzino on my block because E. Devious, who's also one of the members of the crew. E. Devious, he now goes by T.Y.S. Yeah, that's my man. We were on the same block. We grew up on the same block. He's one of the older kids. When I wasn't like
Honduranian.
Okay, yeah. Before I was able to come out the gate, you know what I'm saying? He was already out there running around doing his thing.
Yeah, doing his thing.
And I loved RSO on.
Me too, man.
And like, yo, Jeff 2 Times, that whole crew, Tony Rome, they were some badass dudes, man. I mean, they did their thing on the street, but like I said, I was so much younger than them.
Every town you got the trendsetters, you got the badasses, you got the dudes that don't take no ish, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then was them dudes that was really official, you know what I mean? Corbett Street, Norfolk.
And now T.Y.S is like one of the dudes that be like helping people squash. They